Hello there, welcome or welcome back to a new video. Today I will be setting up my bullet journal for January 2026, which is very exciting. As you saw by the thumbnail, I'm doing a squirrel for the theme, a painting of a squirrel on a branch reaching out for some berries. I just really liked this illustration. I'm gonna talk a bit more about how I settled on this theme because I definitely took my time. Anyway, for the colors that I used burnt umber, burnt sienna, lamp black, titanium white, in addition to sap green and crimson. And this seems to be, excluding the crimson, this seems to be my favorite color palette as of late. It's just colors that I use really often. So we're gonna jump into the cover page painting, and I'm gonna start with the squirrel. So usually when I draw animals, furry, feathery animals, I start with a base layer that I do with strokes, but I don't make them very defined, and then I add the definition later. For example, I'm gonna put on the screen my painting for the cover page of my actual bullet journal setup, yearly setup, and I have a halfway through picture and then the end result, and that showcases pretty well how I block off the colors before adding the definition to the feathers, because I drew a bird in that one. And here I'm doing a furry squirrel, except that I forgot that I usually use that technique, and I went with defined strokes right away. And that definitely, made me doubt myself halfway through, because there was a lot of, breaks where the paper was showing and it wasn't really looking the way I wanted it to look. And I didn't remember that I used this technique until I was actually redoing the face, because I didn't like how it turned out. But anyway, that ended up not being really a big issue. I just kept adding strokes until the page filled out, or the spaces between the individual strokes were filled. But it would have definitely taken less time if I blocked the colors and then went ahead and added the feathery strokes later. Feathery, they are furs, but whatever, you get my point. So I start on the squirrel, but then I leave it like 50% finished, because at that point I was like, I need to work on something else. I'm not gonna like how this looks if I continue. And I started working on the branches. So I'm gonna put the original inspo image on the screen. I saw this and I added it to a Pinterest board titled Craft Paper Journal, and where I'm pulling my ideas for this notebook, and I really liked it. I just liked everything about it. I can't tell you something specific that I liked, but I hesitated, and then I switched to a different idea where I was gonna do a cup of tea with black currants around it as decoration, because I'm obsessed with blackcurrant tea currently. Pun unintended, I guess. But then when it came time to actually set up my cover page and actually do something about it, sketch it and stuff, I hesitated again, and I went back on Pinterest, and then this image popped up, which is exactly the same as the original inspo, except it's stitched. And whoever stitched it, first of all, amazing work, because they stitched every feather on that. It's not a feather, Bonnie. It's a fur, but every stroke on there, it's stitched. But what made me gravitate towards this one instead of the original image is that the squirrel in this one is gray. And I like that much more than the original one, where it was an orange toned brown squirrel, which is actually maybe more realistic. But because the paper is brown and then we have branches, I felt like doing a brown or like an orangey squirrel was gonna be a little bit of an overkill, and then I couldn't envision it well in my brain, and the way I envisioned it in my brain didn't look good for me, and that's why I was hesitating. But when I found out the gray squirrel version of that, I was like, it's a done deal. I do grays very well, let's go. So I did that, and I would like to add that I added burnt umber, a little teeny tiny dot of burnt umber into every single color mix here, because when I did not, the colors somehow just did not show up well on the craft paper. And it's this idea of adding the color of the background to make the actual color you want appear on the page. I'm not sure what this phenomenon is called, but for example, I have a set of colorful blacks acrylic brush pens, and those look horrendous on every paper color except black, where I guess the paper almost absorbs the black pigment in the pen and only leaves out the colored bits. You know what I mean? And then the color actually shows up on black paper beautifully, where if I use it on white paper, it will just appear black. So going off on that theory that I have, I added brown to everything here, and it finally made my grays look good, which usually is not an issue for me. But yeah, even to the pale green, it was a green mixed in with gray and then watered down with a little bit of a white pigment to it. I love brown, I guess. To talk a bit more about the techniques I use, it's pretty much strokes, straight line of strokes going in whichever direction I need, whether that be for the squirrel, the branches, or the sprigs of leaves. Are those pine branches? I'm not sure. My dad, an agricultural engineer, told me it's rosemary. And it kind of looks like it, but I'm not entirely sure. You can fact check me in the comments. But anyway, I went with the strokes. That's like my go-to technique. For the squirrel, I used a lot of color mixes, gray and lamp black with burnt umber, and then add burnt sienna to that, then add white, and keep rotating between those colors and mixing until I liked the tone of something. And then I watered down the consistency almost to watercolor consistency, but I could thicken it up if I needed. But yeah, I really enjoyed the process of painting this. I worked on it on the first Friday of this month, and I had a lot of fun. I spent about 2.5, 3 hours on this, just because I like to take my time and I don't mind spending time painting because it's relaxing for me. It's my, one relaxing hobby that I like to do. So yeah, for the green, it's sap green with a little bit of burnt umber, and then I add more burnt umber when I need to do the shadows. And there's gaps in where I'm painting, but that's alright because we're gonna add clumps of snow later, and that will fix everything. Now to paint the berries, I'm guessing cranberries, I used crimson red, and I definitely should have lightened it up with some yellow maybe, or went with vermilion red and darkened it up with the crimson. But it definitely is a different shade of red than what in my head cranberries are, and it's a little bit dark to where you can't really see the details. They're just balls of red. You can't really see where I put the shadows or where I put the black dot for not the stem, but whatever part that is. And I left gaps where I was painting the berries so that I can tell where one start and the other end when I'm adding shadows, and also because I'm gonna be adding snow, and I thought it best to leave the area without any red paint because there is a possibility of me picking that red up with the brush and then my snow will be pink, and I didn't want that. So yeah, I just did the circles, and I did them alternatively, so one dries before I place the one next to it, so they don't merge into one ball together, and then added a teeny tiny bit at the corner of each one and blended that out to lighten it up a bit and add highlights. And then with lamp black added the little black center, and then mixed, you can see me mix in burnt umber with the red, and I used that for the shadows. Then I started back with working on the squirrel. I structured the sentence very weirdly, but bear with me, I'm recording this right after finishing the painting and also before I edited the footage, so I'm actually not sure at which point in the painting this audio will be at. But anyway, I mixed the last color for the squirrel, which is a reddish brown. That was, featured a little bit in the tail more so than the body, but I added it, and then, I still wasn't really that happy. I moved to the face and I worked on it, but honestly, I didn't like what I was doing. So I left it and started adding the white highlights to the individual hairs, I guess, but there's definitely white hairs on him, so I kept adding those before going back to the eye, because it freaks me out when I paint animals and their eyes are not there yet. I don't know why, so I need to add the eye halfway through before continue working on it. And then I mixed the gray, like one of the neutral grays that I was using to fill the gaps, but at that point my camera cut off and I accomplished quite a bit of the painting before I realized. So we will come back to it, but we would have made significant progress. But all I did is add more of the gray to the gaps between the hairs, and then adding definition using the white, darkening the shadowed areas, darkening the black of the tail, reworking the face entirely. And the way I did that is by dabbing the face with water and then dabbing it with a tissue, and that lifted up most of the paint so that I was able to rework it. Added the skewers, and then we come back to complete the painting. So the last thing I needed to do to finish off this painting is to add all of the snow. So part of the pine leaves or the pine needles are white. Some of them are like entirely white, and some are just a little bit frozen at the tips. So I added all of that, which is why there was gaps in the branches before. I filled them up a little bit with the white needles, and then the rest was just adding clumps of snow, so piling titanium white wherever was needed on top of the branches, in between the individual berries, and then some on the branches of pine, or the pine branches. I'm still not sure what they are, but yeah, that truly completed the look. I was so excited to do this. Snow makes everything better, at least painting wise. I was looking at my reference image to know exactly where I'm supposed to put the painting, because when I like something about the painting, I try not to change it, because when I change it, I tend not to like it. So yeah. And this is just pure titanium white paint mixed in with a little bit of water to make it easy for me to place. And I went with stippling motion for this, so it looks like, a bunch of tiny snowflakes piled up on top of each other. So I did that for the entire painting, and then there was also snow falling, and it's just dots of white paint. So I did that, but I ended up forgetting to add snow to the berries that the squirrel is reaching for. So I do not realize this until I am taking pictures, still pictures of this theme, even after I've done like the flip through and all of the close-ups. But some clips I'm gonna repeat, others are not, so it will remain bare until I fix it, I guess. Now to actually the very last thing that I need to add to this page, which is the January title. I penciled it in using the font that I used for this entire month, which I will talk about later in the following spreads, but I just inked it with a Unipen fineliner. And that concludes my cover page. Now to move to the monthly log. So I have the calendar page and dashboard combined, which I haven't had that done in a hot second, so this was exciting. I decided on somewhat of a mini calendar on just one side of the page, so the left side, and it's more of a vertically elongated calendar, but I'm using this white acrylic paint pen from White Walker, I think the brand is called. I got it from Shein. I swear by this pen, it is great. I used it with a ruler and lifted my ruler very carefully to avoid smudging the white paint, but then added the titles to the calendar, Sunday through to Saturday, using this beautiful font. I will put it on the screen. I wanted to do something different but still flourishy. I didn't want to use my regular cursive, and I found this font, and it's in my fonts folder on my Pinterest. It's called Whiskey, and I thought it was close to calligraphy a little bit, but with some little significant changes. So I decided to freehand it instead of, trace it. So I just kept the image in front of me and, penciled it in a few times until I liked how it looked. But I really like this font. So yeah, for the dashboard situation, I segmented the page a little bit weirdly, but we have 4 sections on there: finances, freelance, hobbies, and to-do. And I made the freelance section the largest and the to-do section horizontal so that I can have 2 running lists. Then I had to erase my pencil lines because if I keep them, they will show through the white paint. So I did some small markings to know where I need to line, but for the most part I tried to erase before inking in. But I inked all around the boxes, and that's basically it. I would like to go and add maybe sprigs of the pine leaves or the berries, just some simple decoration, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up doing that. I will let you know maybe later, but I'm thinking maybe I'll add a small January title above the calendar and have 2 pine sprigs on either side. But that's my monthly log all done. Flipping over, we're gonna start with my weekly log, and I am back to doing 2 weeks on each spread, so each side of the page is an entire week. And I've done this style of weekly before, back in November of 2024, and I always go back to that theme for the weekly layouts because they are not ones I have done often, and I really liked how I did them back then. And coincidentally enough, I also did a bird in that theme. But yeah, that's on another note. This is inspired by those weekly digital weekly layouts that you can have on a notes app or as your screensaver after you add all of the tasks. But yeah, it's just 6 even rectangles and then one larger one that spans the entire size of the right page or left page for the Saturday. And I really like this because I'm the busiest on Saturday and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So it took a little bit of careful work to make sure I don't smudge anything and also not erase my pencil lines for the headers. But then I added all of the white lines, then went ahead and did all of the black lines. And I'm doing the exact style of weeklies for all 4 weeks. So we are looking at one double page, and then the other double page I did it as a test, and it turned out awesome. I'm using a Unipen fine liner in the size 01. I wanted a very fine nib. I actually wanted to use gray, but all of my gray fine liners are dried out and I couldn't buy any in time, so I just use black. It's fine, I don't mind. So yeah, this is a very thin but also whimsical font. I'm just so obsessed with it. I like how it looks. It's again very similar to calligraphy or cursive, but with small differences, like how the D doesn't have a loop coming down, or like it's more of an angle. Then the S is a different style, and I really like this style of F, and I feel like I've done it enough that I now can do it a little bit freehand. And this is one of my goals, which is to learn a few fonts that I can whip out of thin air and letter without needing a reference. And I think I can do it with this one. Maybe not all of the capital letters, but most of them. But yeah, I wanted something simple for January because I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with all of the things I needed to get done towards the end of the year, and this was very simple to do and didn't take a lot of time at all. And then I was thinking maybe if I don't end up painting the pine needles and such and the berries, maybe I can print them from the inspo image on sticker paper and add that. That's what I did back in November of 2024, which is why I went with like similar layouts and such, but I'm not decided still. Lastly, we have a new combination of pages. So the left-hand page is gonna get just a title for goals in action, and I've set some goals that I would like to accomplish, and I also have some projects in mind, and I would like a page each month where I can document my progress or what I'm trying to do. Some of them will just be trackers. These are things that I need to do daily, and if I don't, then I don't make progress in them, so that's what will be for that. Other things I'm still not sure, which is why I left it pretty open. And then on the right hand page is my monthly review, which I sort of treat it like a tracker for the things in it. Some things don't get filled in until the month is through and I'm done with it, like my finance and my favorites. But then other things I fill out throughout the month, sort of as a reflection and meditation, maybe gratitude, like the highlights and the accomplished sections. Then my challenges, I like to, journal and, realize and absorb what I'm, feeling throughout the month and such. I'm having a difficult time explaining it. And then I actually added a new section here, which is goal getting, in which I'm gonna summarize very quickly what I've accomplished in terms of goals and maybe what I need to focus on next month. But the left-hand page is very simple, just a title. Maybe I will add a border to it just to tie it to the theme, because it's feeling a little open and everything has been quite enclosed. And then the left page got the January in review up top, and then the headers lettered in the exact same font. Then I erased the pencil lines in order to add the borders around each section. And I feel like this is a little squeezed in because the headers took a bit of space, and I have a weird thing about having equal borders. Like I left 2 dots here because I left 2 dots somewhere else in the theme. But yeah, it turned out quite nice. I really like how it looks, and it's gonna look even better once I fill it in. But yeah, that's basically all I've done for my setup for January 2026. Let's flip through and look at it all at once. It is beautiful, very simple, very nice. I'm so excited to use it. The font adds just a really nice touch that I'm excited to use. The inner pages and then the cover page is absolutely beautiful. But that's basically what I'll be doing moving forward with my setups. A very beautiful cover page and relatively simple subsequent pages, unless I have time on my hand. And I'm saying that because I have time on my hand for February, and I'm gonna go against everything I just said. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.